Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I'll introduce you to the Microsoft Sway blog or website and walk you through how to set up your own. This is the platform that we're going to be using while traveling in Rome to share and publish our work. So I have up in front of me here a Sway that I've been setting up as kind of a demonstration. And so it has this sort of eclectic array of things in here, but we start off with the title page, layers of Rome here with an image inserted as a background, and then kind of a first chapter perhaps, or a little introductory page with this kind of faded out photograph to allow the writing to be sort of more conspicuous, and just a couple images here to show you different sizes, different arrangements of imagery. So here's a very colorful photo of the Colosseum. And you can see it below. I added a little annotation, a little comment, and we'll talk more about that. So here's an image with the Pantheon with a different kind of background inserted here. And you can see you can add a substantial amount of text. Here I just did 3 columns just to kind of show you what that would look like. Then here's another sort of heading section, drawings done on site using a tesserae mosaic here. And then I've added a couple images here of drawings I've done in the past. They may or may not relate to Rome. Then adding some text to sort of give you an idea of how that can look. These drawings have a gray border around them, and we'll talk more about that. And then scrolling on, you'll see these two do not. So here's an example of also a couple pages of notes. That is the kind of thing that you'll also can post to your Sway. And again, some annotation or comments on those. So that's sort of a quick introduction. And I've been in sort of presentation mode here. So if you notice the edit button on the top right popped up, I can get out of this mode. And this is what the Sway looks like while you're working with it. And if you see on the left, you have storyline and then design. And so if we hit design, sort of shows us what it's looking like. Storyline is sort of as we're building it. And so Sway operates basically with the system of cards. So each one of these long horizontal rectangles is referred to in the Sway world as a card. And so you have several different types of cards. For example, you can see some of them feature imagery, some of them feature text, some feature both. You can also have cards that contain multimedia. And so the idea here is that you're linking these cards together to form a long stream. So a Sway does not have sections or chapters the way the Digication ePortfolio could. So this is a long, linear stream, and so chapters and headings and organization is important here. You can also group things and ungroup them in interesting ways. So this is enough of a quick introduction to the demo Sway. Let's get into making your own. If you go into office.com or Google Office 365, you might come up with a page like this. All of you have this on your iPad as part of your Hiram account. So you'll notice on the far left you have a number of icons. And you want to go towards the bottom and tap the one that has the S on it. And that will bring up the Microsoft Sway. So to get started, all you have to do is tap that gray box there that says New Blank Sway. And at this point, you'll get your first card presented to you here. And I'd like you to label that with Layers of Rome, and then you can add your name. So hopefully you've saved the photos that have been posted to Moodle onto your iPad library so that we can grab some images here. So let's go to add a background to this card. Let's add a image of the Roman Forum. So tap the background, and we have some options here to look for images online, but we want to go to the bottom left where it says My Device. Click on My Device and go to your photo library. Figure out where you have your pictures here. I have it under the Rome trip images, and let's grab that photo, tap it, and then hit Add. And there we have our first sort of header page. So to have a quick view of what that looks like, hit Design, and you can see it looks something like this. You have a lot of options to rearrange the kind of fonts, the typeface, and some color options that we'll get to in a little bit. So back to Storyline here. Okay, so we don't rush into this blog so quickly, let's add sort of another introductory card here. So tap the plus sign, and you have some options here. And let's choose again a heading option on the left. So this could be a sort of a preface or a little bit of an introduction to what this blog is, what it's about, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to write something quickly. You can look at my demo to get some ideas. I'm just going to identify this as a blog. So let's get an image in there. But before we just go to our photo library, let's do a little incorporation of Procreate here, which can add some great accents and do some things that Sway doesn't do by itself. All right, let's go into Procreate and start a new screen. And let's bring in a photo from our photo library. So we'll click Add, insert a photo. I think I need to go to Albums. Here we go, Rome Trip. And let's bring in this image of the Colosseum. Enlarge it a bit there. And since we're going to use this as a sort of background image, let's do a Gaussian blur. So go up to the Magic Wand tool, and a little bit ways down, you've got Gaussian blur. And then with your pen or pencil touching the screen, you slide to the right, and you can decide the amount of blurring. I want this really to sit back and not compete with writing, so I think I'm going to leave this somewhere about there. So that's only a 5%, but it looks good to me. And then I'm going to export this. I'm going to hit Share as a JPEG. It's very important that you choose JPEG and not PDF. And that gives you the option to save the image to your photo library. Okay, so we did that. We can get out of Procreate and get right back into the Sway blog. And let's upload the image as a background here. So tap in that box. Let's go to My Device, the photo library here. I think I'm in, nope, I gotta go to my albums. Okay, so there's our blurred image of the Colosseum. Let's take a look at how this looks. Let's tap on the design section. And this is kind of what we have so far. And again, we can change some of these features. Here's our first page, and then our second page kind of offering the introduction. So going back to Storyline, let's keep adding. Okay, let's create a new text card and put in some biographical information. So I'll let you elaborate on this later. Why don't we put in one sentence right now? Okay, so I've put in a very short description here. I'd like you to elaborate on this later on, maybe talk about where you're from, what your activities are at Hiram College, what you study at Hiram, and maybe what you're planning to do after Hiram. So now let's add an image to go with our biographical information here. So let's tap, and this time open up an image card. Okay, let's look for an image of Hiram College. Okay, so we have the introduction statement and the image of Hiram College after it. Let's take a look at what that might look like in the design section. So we're scrolling down, and here we have the description and the image of Hiram. So back in Storyline, just a quick exercise here. Let's flip these around and tap and hold the text card with the bio info, and we're going to drop it below the image. To move it, you can tap in the little box at the bottom right of that card, and it's kind of got it selected, and then you can just move it down below, and we've got them switched out. So let's see what that looks like as a design. So Sway can do its sort of own thing here, which at times is useful, at times frustrating. But you can see it's put the text right next to the image of Hiram College. So one way I could change that, if I don't like that, I actually do kind of like it. One way you could change that is back in Storyline. Let's go to the image, tap on it, and let's make it larger. So if you look at the 3 options to the right next to the trash can, those show increasing size. So let's make it the middle size and see if that changes where the type is. So you don't ever need to publish or save anything. It does it automatically and pretty quickly. So back in design, now we've got the image larger and the biographical text is under that. So I actually liked it the other way, so I'm gonna just switch it back and go for the smaller size. Okay, now let's try to add another image, but first let's go to Procreate and create an image with a border around it. Pull up a new screen and let's add an image. I'd like to add this little drawing I did of a cemetery. It's in Italy, but not in Rome, but that's okay. So I'm going to make that a little smaller. And that's great. So how do I add a border around this? You can go up to the Layers menu, add a new layer, and then move it underneath the layer that has the picture on it. So that layer is still selected. Then go over there to the wrench icon, and we're going to adjust the size of this sort of background white area around the drawing. So we go to Canvas, second choice here, and just the first option is crop and resize. So tap that and bring in the borders to form, I don't know, pretty substantial border. Maybe looks like something like that. That's good for now, and hit done. So now we've got it cropped. So all you need to do to give it a gray color, I think the white maybe is not so appealing. So up at the color icon in the top right, you can tap and kind of create a middle gray, and then drag and drop that into that layer. So now you've got an image with a nice border around it. And you can then, of course, export this as a JPEG. Okay, share it as a JPEG. Again, to just save image, which is going to your photo library. All right, so now we can jump out of Procreate back into Sway, and let's try to tap on that layer, add a next card. So add an image card and go to my device, of course, photo library. I'll go to recent here. Here's our image with the border around it. And now it's added. So let's take a look at that again, how it appears. So I like what the border does because it gives us a little distance from the photo of Hiram College. It sets off the drawing a little bit against the white background. And so I think that's a good choice here. Let's go back and see if we can add a caption to the drawing. Let's see what Sway does with that. Okay, so there's a caption. Let's see where they place that caption. Off to the side. Okay, I think that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's do another quick demonstration. Add a couple photos. We're going to add the same photo 3 times. So let's create 3 image cards here. And going back to the first of the new ones here, let's insert an image of this ancient sewer cover, the Bocca della Verità. So we can add that. Okay, it added its own new card, which is fine. We can always delete some of the other ones. Let's go back to this first one and see if we can then add the same image. There we go. And one more time. Now that we have these three identical images here, let's look at them at different sizes. So let's set the first one at the smallest, which it already is. Let's move the second one to medium size, and the third one can be the largest. So let's just get a sense of how that looks in the design mode. I think, the largest, the image gets a little pixelated and it really fills the screen, maybe a little bit too much, so you can't really take in the whole thing at once. The middle size is fine, quite large. And the smallest is also easy to see, and we could probably add some text next to it if we wanted. So there you have some ideas on the sizes, the settings there. And I think since I like the smallest one, I'm going to go back to the other two, and again, just click on them and hit the trash can, and they're gone. Okay, here's one more card I don't really need at the moment, so I'll just get rid of that one too. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you is how you can change the overall style of your blog. So while we're in design mode, you'll see at the far right, we have a little palette there that says styles. So the first option you have at the top here is to choose either vertical or horizontal. So changing it from vertical now to horizontal, you can see that it flows like this. This is just a matter of taste. So returning to styles, you have a number of options to choose here that change the color scheme and the typeface. And you also have the ability to customize. So first, let's just hit a couple of these. First, this one with this sort of red background behind ABC. Let's tap that. Get out of this mode, and you can see that the way that the typeface is presented is a little bit different here. The images and so forth stay about the same. So finding another style, we can scroll down to, let's try this kind of olive green background behind all of the letters. And now you can see the typeface has changed, and many sections now will have this background color. Of course, you can customize. If you tap that, you can choose both the color schemes, and then you'll note below that, they give you some choices for typeface, where you have to choose two typefaces that go together. You can't choose them individually, but you have to choose them as a pair. So let's, for the sake, try Choir Sans. And you can see our typeface is a little different here. So that's something to play around with. And you can do that on your own. I think I would suggest choosing color scheme and typeface that makes for ease of reading and that really allows your photographs and artwork to shine through. Finally, let's make this something that we can share with other people. So if you'll notice at the top right again, we have the option to share. So if we tap on that, your second option is to share this with those in your organization who have the link. You could also share with anyone with a link, such as a family member, as long as you provide them with that connection. You do have the option to require a password. I don't think we'll be needing that. So that's a quick introduction to the Microsoft Sway. And I hope you spend some time personalizing this and thinking about the best ways to present your content.